particularly when you talk about a player and maybe the perfect encapsulation of what any coach would want to start a team with, you have to start with Darlington Nagbe because of his demeanor, because of how he is off the field, because of how he is as a person. If you guys have ever been lucky enough to interact with him or meet him, he is the most humble superstar that you will ever meet. We've talked about this a little bit on Countdown about humble superstars, none more so than Darlington Nagbe. He always thinks about the team first. He always puts the team ahead of himself. And he's one of the most unselfish players that you'll ever come across. And then you get to on the field and what he has accomplished on the field. The first thing I think of is winner. He's won 4 MLS Cups with all 3 teams he played at in Major League Soccer. He won a national championship at the University of Akron. So winner is the first thing. And the second thing is unique. Unique in the way that he was as a player, in his profile, in the way that you think of Americans, how they're developed. You don't think of Darlington Nagbe. He is a comfort level with the ball, a composure on the ball that basically rival anyone in the world. And I'll stand on that because of how good he was technically, because of how comfortable he was in possession. He was a cheat code. It was the reason why all of his teams were not just good and not just won championships, but aesthetically pleasing to watch on the eye as well. I can't say enough about Darlington Nagbe. Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, they need no explanation. Sasha and I gave them their props on or at least Sergio Busquets on Countdown with how he kind of revolutionized the position. Jordi Alba, we always joke about him being maybe a center forward from the fullback position. One of the best attacking fullbacks of all time. Absolutely can be argued he revolutionized his position as well. It's just a sad day that they're all going to be walking away from the game, but we can remember them for all the great times that they gave us.
Spot on, Dax. I think it's really well said. Just to touch on Darlington Nagbe, because the biggest compliment I think I can give him is that he made everybody around him better, and he made his teams better by the way he went about his play on the field. The biggest comparison also I think I can make is for a guy who was never going to be in the MVP conversation because of the position he played and because he didn't get a ton of goals and assists. If you remember the Belgian Moussa Dembele who played for Tottenham, how he could dribble by people, how he could protect the ball, you could never take it off of him. And when you see all of his former teammates nowadays, when they ask him, who's the best player you ever played with, or who's a guy that has to be in your top 5 of all time, and so many guys from Kevin De Bruyne to Harry Kane to all these guys will say Moussa Dembele. They talk about him like he is like a superstar, right? And so I think ask a lot of players who played with Darlington over their careers, and he would always make their top 5 in terms of players that they've played with. So kudos to him on a fantastic career, and I wish him all the best in his next chapter. Quickly on Jordi Alba, one of the best attacking left backs of all time. That connection he had with Messi has been special. It'll be interesting to see where Inter Miami go from here. But Kev, I know you loved Nagbe and you covered him in Atlanta, and he meant a lot to you. I'd love to hear from you on your thoughts on Darlington.
Darlington's a player that evolved, I think, over the years from a much more attacking player at Portland. Then he comes to Atlanta United, and he was a little bit more box to box than he is currently with the Columbus Crew. Jeff Laurentowicz played that deeper role at times for Atlanta United. Eric Remedi was there as well in the championship year. Nagbe was the assist to the assist guy. He was the guy that made it happen. If Parkhurst Laurentowicz could get the ball to Nagbe, you'd spin and he would find Tito Villalba out wide who'd cross it for Joseph, or Miguel to Joseph. He was such a joy and a class act, as you mentioned, off the field. I think the closest player during his Atlanta days that I would compare him to would be Luka Modric for what he did and his ability to spin out of pressure and play the most perfectly weighted pass forward to an onrushing winger. Class personified. I just felt the way he was so nearly emotionless on the field. Sometimes that was nearly a knock on him by some people. But he was the definition of a leader in that he led by example constantly. He's one of very few players that have managed to win MLS Cups with 3 different teams. In fact, there are only 4 others. Can you name them? Trivia question for you guys.
Ooh.
Two encyclopedias here. 4 other players in MLS history have won MLS Cups with 3 different teams. I love hitting Nashville trivia. Brian Mullen, correct.
That's one.
Correct.
3 different teams.
All right.
Jeff Agers?
No. I'll give you one. Was a striker, also played with Columbus, TV personality.
Ale Moreno.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
All right, another
Ale
one.
Moreno.
Another one was a recent head coach in Major League Soccer. Played with the Galaxy, DC, and Columbus.
Guillermo Barros. No,
No,
not him.
no.
Come on,
recent.
Sash.
I know that one came quick, and I thought no.
He was a head coach. It didn't last as long as we would have liked.
Who did he play for again?
He played for a club that Dax captained. Or excuse me, he managed a club that Dax captained.
Ezra
Not while
Hendrickson.
Dax was there. Correct. And we've one more
Ezra
who
Hendrickson.
is still this man is still very involved in one of the best run organizations in Major League Soccer. And he's pulling the strings behind the scenes. And he played for the Galaxy, the Earthquakes, and Houston.
Craig Weibel.
Correct. Well done.
Wow.
Well
Okay.
done.
I couldn't let him get all of them. Come on.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but those other guys are not in the stratosphere of Darlington Nagbe.
Yeah. Completely agree. But those are,
Kev,
I'm saying he's in elite company in terms of winning MLS Cup with 3 different teams. And like as a commentator, and I'll say this, when you get a chance to commentate for a club, as I did with Chicago and Atlanta, you grow a certain love for certain players that have helped you along in your career. And there are 3 players that I'll say 4 actually. There are 2 in particular that jump off the page for me. Mike McGee in 2013 won MVP. And I'm going to mention this to Robbie Keane here coming up very shortly on the show, because Robbie felt he should have won MVP in 2013. And Mike McGee got it. He scores a hat-trick against the Fire playing for the LA Galaxy in March. And then he gets transferred in early June to the Chicago Fire, and he wins MVP. He had an incredible campaign. He did the Ferris Bueller video with Bruce Arena and Thierry Henry and many others, and Omar Gonzalez, and it was just absolutely brilliant. But he was the Bradley Cooper movie star rocking into Chicago at a time when they desperately needed him, and telling the story of the hometown kid returning home from playing with the Metro Stars and playing with the LA Galaxy to return home to Chicago and have his dad out watching him at training and at games, and his it was just a special story to tell. And the next one for me is Joseph Martinez. To cover the most lethal predator across MLS over a 3-year span was a joy. You know, the Venezuelan Viper, the way he was so unbelievably ruthless. But then the other 2 for me, I'm going to include one other guy here, is Brad Guzan and Darlington Nagbe. Just for how class they are off the field. I know Brad more than I know Darlington personally. But just Brad is a Chicago guy, near and dear to my heart. My ma's from Chicago, my wife's from Chicago, and he goes and plays for my team, Aston Villa, over in the Premier League. And then I get a chance to get to know him a little bit in Atlanta, and just a wonderful career, Brad Guzan, and then Darlington Nagbe too. So shout out to those players that make commentators' lives an awful lot easier. I know Steve Cangelosi, if he was able to chat with us now, would wax lyrical about Bradley Roy Phillips, or Jake Ziven talking about Diego Valeri in Portland. It's just it's a joy when players can do that for commentators, like you did for Jamie Watson for many years, Dax.
Of course, Kev. Of course. Hey, quickly on Darlington, and I want to give you my 3 because I did have to think about this, Kev. I often think, like, first of all, about what Sash said about Darlington, about because he was never a big goals and assist guy, you were never going to have him in the conversation for MVP. But it's also, I think, such a unique thing to Darlington that I think universally, if you're a Major League Soccer fan or a coach or a supporter or even a player, you would have Darlington Nagbe in your Mount Rushmore of greatest Major League Soccer players of all time. There's no question about it. A lot of people should be talking about him in the vein of greatest midfielder of all time to come out of Major League Soccer. And I often think selfishly, I don't have any regrets in my career, but there was a point where I was leaving FC Dallas and I went to DC United. But how I got there was I was left unprotected in the expansion draft, and I got a call from Ben Olsen from DC United, and he said, "Hey, listen, we want to take you we want Portland to take you in the expansion draft, and then we want to trade for you." And I just said, "Okay, wow, that's a lot right now," but they ended up doing that. That happened, and my time at DC was short-lived. But there was a very brief moment for about an hour where I was a Portland Timber, and I often think back. I have no regrets in my career, but I often think back, what if I just told Ben, "Hey, listen, no, I think I just want to stay with Portland," and had the opportunity to play in a midfield with Darlington and Diego Chara, Probably would have had an MLS Cup. That's for damn sure. Okay. And so